today we have a quiz, the first one of 2021. You gotta get the year right. And this is a series of 3 true or false questions. Just true or false. No A, B, and C, no coming up with answers off the top of your head. These are true and false. Or false, I should say. So the first one, and they have a kind of a theme. I don't know if we'll figure out the theme, but there's kind of a theme. So the first one is true or false. Turning off GPS. Turning off GPS on your mobile will prevent tracking of the device's location.
Oh, I think everyone knows this is false. Well, I'll see what Chris has to say.
Well, I would say a lot of security researchers, I'm not going to name any names right now, but they like to mention like, oh, you can turn your phone off or turn the GPS off on your phone, but how do you actually know it's off?
Well, and I guess
there's actually a lot of other ways to do the tracking, even if you turn the GPS off, that we've heard about like over the past few years. I think with the Wi-Fi being one of them. So looking to see what Wi-Fi hotspots you're connected to, I think is like one of the ways. There's an amazing number of apps on your phone that can actually keep track of like your state and where you might have been last. And you probably don't really like travel that far out from your range. And there's ways to, figure out like how many steps you took in which direction and things like that. So that, for sure there's ways to do stuff like that, but I think concretely we've heard in the past 1 or 2 years about people doing stuff like that with Wi-Fi hotspots, or even the IP address you come out of is usually pretty localized to where you are.
I would say don't forget too that as your carrier, and of course we're in a carrier business, but as your carrier, you connect to the RAN, to the radio net tower. That's a tracked location as well. So it's triangulation to find you, but so it's not specific necessarily, but it's another tracking that just happens just because you want a cell signal.
Yeah, it's actually, I think that's part of the standards a little bit, to make sure you have good cell phone service, you kind of have to know which tower you're next to, and those towers are in specific places. I didn't even think of that.
Are we ready for number 2? That one?
Oh yeah. All right, that was a good warm-up. Yeah, that was a good warm-up.
Number 2 is, these are not going to be hard. It's to generate this conversation. Number 2 is a similar answer, similar question, true or false. Antivirus software is not a guarantee of immunity.
Oh, that has to be true. It's not a guarantee. Yeah, it's true. Oh yeah. And I think if nothing else, probably late last year, many people learned about the big hack of several major vendors, relating to sunburst activity. And if that's not proof, I don't know what is.
What do you think, Chris? You agree with Stan that it's true?
Yeah, I do. I do agree. And I mean, pretty obviously it is, I would say, with zero-day attacks and all. It's really hard to determine exactly what has been in the detection system. And there are some anomaly detection systems, but they're all not perfect. And it's such a growing environment that it kind of like, it's a give and take. Like maybe anti-malware comes up with a new service that helps protect you, and then attackers come up with a new malware that kind of bypasses it. So it's always a give and take.
Yeah, and the other challenge I see personally, and the reason I picked this question is that a lot of times people compromise themselves. It's a term I tend to overuse sometimes, but if you click a link, you sideload software onto your phone, you're doing this to yourself. Your antivirus isn't going to prevent you from hacking yourself. It's just not going to do it.
I think it's important in the same vein to point out that adversaries, before they come after you, they actually test to make sure that their malware is not detectable by AV vendors first. then they send it to you, then it becomes detectable. So that's definitely like +2 points for hacking you. I think it really even just ties into the previous segment. Yeah, that's true.
It also comes back to social engineering. You may see a link that pretty interested in, and you just don't know what's behind it sometimes.
Exactly. So number three, question number three. So if you haven't caught the theme is common myths that you hear, people tell each other, right? Oh yeah, I don't need antivirus, or I do need antivirus because once I have it, I'm protected. Or I turn my GPS off however I can, or may not be able to. They can't track me. So the third myth, these are three of the most common ones I've ever heard. This one is one I hear all the time, and it just kills me. I just cringe. So it's another true false. Public Wi-Fi hotspots, all right, public Wi-Fi hotspots that use a password are completely safe for doing sensitive transactions such as banking. So Chris, Chris, this one. What do you think, Chris? True or false?
I'm going to say this one's false. It's definitely not not secure. Just because there's a password on it doesn't mean that you're going over an encrypted channel, or they're not just logging the information on their Wi-Fi router for connections you're making. And regardless of kind of what Wi-Fi system you go on, if you get spoofed and go to an HTTP website that might look like your bank but not actually is, it will still steal your credentials when you try to make those transactions or log in with your password.
So Stan, are you agreeing?
I am wholeheartedly agreeing with Chris. First of all, I knew that can't be true because you said it's secure, and we just covered that. Everything can't really be secure all of the time, and it's really, just going back to social engineering, a lot of it's misconceptions or assumptions that really usually get people into trouble. And I think it's the assumption that there's a password. It's the assumption that there's some I'm in a location that I trust. That is a misassociation potentially with security or actual safety. So I think in this case, Chris is definitely spot on with everything he said, and I agree.
Yeah, well, you also have to remember, too, that public Wi-Fis are notorious. I'm sure we've covered this many times on this segment for man-in-the-middle type attacks where you emulate, with a stronger signal, you even use the same password. It's common knowledge, right? Same SSID, same password. You're going to get in, you're going to connect to that hotspot. You think you're really connecting to the cafe's hotspot, and you're connecting to some malicious guy sitting at a table next to you, who's funneling you over to the real one. So, and just capturing everything you do.